Welcome, everybody, to the Kentuckiana FileMaker Developers Group. This is our October session. If you're watching us on YouTube, we would love to have you join us. We meet on the fourth Tuesday of every month, and you can check us out on kyfmp.com to get registered for the next one. Next month, we're going to be having Sully is going to be doing some presenting next month. But this month we have Brian Ginn, and he's going to be talking to us a little bit about AI and applying it with FileMaker and utilizing it on a daily basis. So, Brian, it's all yours.
Give me one moment to get this. And I need to, oh, there it is. Everything shows now. Share and let me.
Okay. There we go. Now we can see your screen.
Right. Can I get rid of this bar? Oh, you don't see it, do you?
No.
Oh, good. Okay. All righty. So we can minimize this. So you can see this FM and AI, correct?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Okay. You have one question. And that is, of all the AIs out there, which ones know FileMaker? And of those, which one is best for me? And the answer is none of them.
That's not the answer we were looking for, Brian.
Oh, I know. Problem is just like in the real world, AI doesn't know FileMaker either. So, and I'll give you a little sample of that right here. I got this message about 3 weeks ago. Can you see this clearly?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay.
Vince is asking if we can ask questions during, if that's okay.
I'm going to do a TLDR, and if you'll wait till right after that, I would appreciate it.
Okay.
That's coming. All right, so unfortunately, it says I do not have specific expertise in FileMaker development. I was shocked to even read that. But there is, that was the trick. Here's the treat. About a week later, I get this. If you need help with technical issues, coding problems, or software like FileMaker Pro, feel free to ask. Hopeful. Not quite as hopeful as the next sentence that I didn't highlight. You know, I can run Python. I don't think it can do that. But that's still a little bit of a treat. All right, so here's what I'm going to go over. I'm going to do a TLDR. And if you would, just, please hold your questions, because this will go rather quickly, just to give you the big flavor of what's about to happen. So I'm going to go over, number one, API AI embedding within FileMaker. Number two, prompt-based AI to write new code. And number three, prompt-based AI to elucidate code. Now, let's see. Let me set up one more thing if I can get it to work. All right, this is my desktop, and I'm going to introduce you to a device. You can see this, correct?
Yes, we can.
Okay. This is a small device. It's a loop deck. If I can get it plugged in. Okay. I'm going to go through 1, 2, and 3 somewhat together here. So we're going to open up what I had stumbled upon about a month ago was this. This is the very stock FileMaker template for contacts. And when I was working with a client's file, so I'm going to simulate it here with this. And they have contacts, of course. And I had my little device here, and it says, research this topic. And so I would highlight this, and I would ask it to research, and it's thinking. Takes it about 17 to 34 seconds to get an API response. It's obviously got API abilities built in. Low. There it is. Okay. And so I've also set it up where it'll read the answer.
Claris Incorporated is a software company that specializes in creating and selling business productivity applications. It was originally a subsidiary of Apple Incorporated and was known.
We're not going to finish it. And the history's okay. I mean, it does the hallucinations that AI does, but this is pretty stunning for just a few seconds of waiting. And I would do it for, let's do it for the company itself. This is loop deck. So when it does the 3 dots, it's working. And as it's doing that, what I thought about is I said, well, you know, they have like 8 salespeople at this company I was rummaging through. And it was so fascinating to see who these companies were that they were interacting with. And that knowledge wasn't in their database. But I said, well, they're probably not going to put this device on every desk. So obviously the way to do it would be to do an API call. So let me get the right file here. Okay. So last year, in order to pass the certification exam, I made 2 databases. I made one for script steps and one for functions. And I would put my answer in here. I would have the Claris page come up. I would have Google come up for the topic. I would have Bing come up for the topic. This year, I wanted to introduce AI. So I did that. And so now let me search for something that doesn't have an intro. Let's go look for something interesting. Check found set, scroll window. Perform quick find. This will be good. So what I did is I just set up an API in here to where it will do the same thing. It'll make a call, but it will put it inside of this database to give me something else to do my research with. So it's essentially doing the same thing as this little button. There it is. Okay. So it puts it in here, and then I have it also time it, how long it takes. Wow, that is literally the longest it's ever taken, 47 seconds. All right, so now I have another resource for this database, and I have one for script steps, one for functions. And it did help me study for the exam. All right, so we've got that done. Now let's go back to what we're trying to do here. All right. Oh, the last thing. How did this happen? So what we'll do, I carried it a little farther, and I wanted FileMaker to help me. I'm sorry, I wanted AI to help me with FileMaker calculations. So and before I get there, let's go into here. So here's the script that's very almost identical to the one you just saw in that other database. So it's just making an API call, but I want to know what I don't want to read all the script. I want it to tell me. So I'll go in here and I'll copy the script steps. And there's a button on here that says, what exactly does this do? What does this code do? It will also make an API call. But because this is copied as plain text, it will give it to me.
This code is a script written in the FileMaker programming language. It is designed to interact with the OpenAI API and retrieve results for the current record in a FileMaker database. Here is a breakdown of what the code does. 1. It sets some initial variables to empty values. 2. It sets the variables to specific values based on fields in the FileMaker database, e.g., API key, API endpoint prompt. 3. It formats the prompt variable into a JSON object. 4. It makes a request to the OpenAI API using the curl options specified. 5. It extracts the message value from the API response and stores it in a field in the FileMaker database. 6. It performs some additional processing on the extracted message, such as removing the last word assistant if present. 7. It commits the changes to the FileMaker database. Overall, this script allows users to communicate with the OpenAI API and retrieve responses within their FileMaker database. The specific functionality and purpose of this script may vary depending on the context in which it is used.
And that is pretty accurate for what it does. So,
Nice.
yeah. So let's close it and let's test it. So on the back end, of course, you have an API key, as it said. You have an endpoint. On the front end, you have a question that you want to ask. And then you have, let me get rid of this. Okay. AI custom instructions response. Your response will be formal and terse without comments or commentary and only pure code presented in your response. I know that's poor English, but it took that for me to get what you're about to see. So I'm going to say, write me a FileMaker calculation that does the following. Gives a date range of so ask AI.
Why did you only use 2 dots for the ellipses?
Oh, I should have used 3.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully it'll recover. Okay. Not only do I get back the actual formula, I can test it because I evaluate it the minute it comes in. I know this works without going to the data viewer. So it took it less than, when did I start this? 36, 120, it took it like a minute 20, no, minute 10 for me to write a prompt, get a response, get it to check it, and now I've got it. Oh, it did do 2 dots though. That's so funny. So I can fix it here and it should still calculate and be correct. All right, so I can do this on and on and on and get what I need to help me with my FileMaker work. And I think, did I discuss everything? Yes. Okay, so that's the quick TLDR. And these, I reached out to these companies and I spoke to Christian at Monkey Bread, and he offers this code through Halloween to get a discount. And then I spoke to Valeria, who's in Finland, at LoopDeck, this device, and she agreed to use the same code. So you can get a discount on this. All right, that's the TLDR. I know I went through that a little quickly. Any questions?
Could you go over why you had to make it terse? The
Oh,
request.
very good question. Okay, let's get rid of this. And let's ask it to do the same thing again. So it's going to make the same API call, but it's not going to have the response instructions. And that did two things. If I were learning FileMaker, I would want that. But because I'm okay with FileMaker, I just need in this case, I just need the calculation. And so when it comes back, it's going to flip over to the results tab. And you'll see the difference here.
And can you share the actual text that you had in the chat as well? Like the actual text.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I can. Yeah, see here, it's very verbose. And it's telling me a lot of things. This is great. But this is like when you're at the web browser doing AI, as you know. It'll give you a lot of information. So there are two things. Number one, I don't need all that. I understand let statements. I understand case statements. I understand all that. I don't need all that verbiage. And number two, it doesn't evaluate. So, and then I have to do this. I either have to do one of two things. I have to either copy this, put it in my data viewer and see if it works. Even. Oh no, why not? Did I do? Seeing it, I don't even know what's wrong with this. Doesn't matter. This one doesn't work. And you notice they gave me a completely different answer. So
if obviously FileMaker is not going to work with it because it only has 2 periods between the dates. So FileMaker is going to give you an error.
oh, then we can do granted. Okay, fair enough.
See if that fixes it.
Yeah, is that here, you think?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's just a comment. Hang on, here.
Yeah.
No, it still should have given us the answer. That would only give us an error if it were, am I correct? You know what I mean?
Maybe,
So,
yeah.
see, I'm spending all my time going back and forth between these two. I don't want to do that. I want to get an answer. So back to here, and I've got them. Let's see. I'll put this, if I can do the chat. Chat to everyone. Should be in the chat.
Thanks.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay, so let's do this again. And did I fix it here? No. So let's fix it. Okay, so now it's proper. Okay, so I'm going to run it again. It may not work. What I like about this is it will do the request. It'll be terse in its response, and it'll evaluate it because I told it to. Now, listen, guys, this is the most amazing thing. This worked 2 times in a row. What I usually have happen is, yes, it'll work about 60% of the time the first time, but sometimes it doesn't, and I have to refresh it till I get an answer. Then I'll look it over and say, yeah, this is what I want. I can deal with this. I can copy and paste this and put it right in. I can ask it for, I can do a new response. So if I'm in here and I do a new one, it copies over all the old code. And I can do the same thing, but I can say for the next quarter. I can type. And I can ask it. You know what I mean? Because I literally had AI do this for me about 3 months ago, because I had to put all these buttons that did all this for the salespeople, so they could get their numbers for last quarter, this quarter, next quarter. And I just had AI write it all. And as long as the calculation worked and I could confirm it by skimming over it, I was a happy guy. And it makes me feel like, with AI right now, when you're working with it, it seems to be Python based, and it loves to do Python when we're not doing Python. This makes me feel, is that right? Yeah, that's right. So this makes me feel like I've got an edge on AI to do this. So I'm super duper happy that I got this to work. Oh, and it took 50 seconds to get that. Beautiful. Okay. So I've run this like 86 times. I'm going to give you the math on what it costs to do API calls using OpenAI, using GPT-4. And I've used it pretty heavily, maybe 230 calls. Now it does it by token, but it's cost me $3 and, hang on, I'll tell you, 77 cents. Not too bad. I'll take that for getting this kind of ability. Okay. Now, it will do other things because you're here. Let's say I did this. Let's say I wanted this code. So I copy this code and I do a new. Did it copy? Yeah, everything. Okay, so explain this code in FileMaker. Okay. This is just like the button here, research, or similar to what does this code do, rather. So I can still use this. Oh, I thought I did that. Did I not? All right, let me make sure everything's good. Yeah.
Does it make a difference that you still have the text down below that says it's going to come through code only?
You're exactly right. I need to get rid of that. Although it didn't, and here's what I do like about it. That's a good point. Forgive me, I'm a little nervous, so I'm not getting rid of all that stuff. But you're right, I should have done that. But it's still, here's what I noticed that it'll do is that if it can make it pure code as what I was asking for, it'll go ahead and give you an answer. So I get lucky there. So yeah, it did the same thing as that. So that's good. And I assume that everybody's went to OpenAI, Anthropic, and tried to do all this the very, what we'll call now the standard way, which is in a web browser, logging in. I'm pretty sure everyone in this crowd has done that, correct? But what I wanted two things. I want a device like this so I can have it, right there. And I have a device here that I wrote that will let me get quick answers, because the problem with the standard way to do it now, you have to go to a web browser. And I noticed they're really into authentication. And a lot of times it'll stop me, make me authenticate again to log in. And then I have to go to the correct website. By then I've almost forgotten what I wanted to do. So, and you have to set up your prompt, your response prompt. And I'll show you that now, if I can get away with it. Let's do it. All right. Chat. Yes. Okay. Let's move this out of the way. What I'm referring to there is this. Custom instructions, and I got rid of mine. But, this is where you put in your response just to get code back. For instance, here's where you tell it, what you're doing. I'm a FileMaker developer. I know FileMaker. Believe it or not, these are really helpful, as you just saw, especially in the response. But I have to set that up. I have to go in here and do this. I don't guess it's any slower or faster than the way I did it, but this is just the way it is. All right, back to this API thing. All right, the one thing I learned, let me bring up functions. Yeah. Okay. No, it is a script step. Wait a minute. All right, I'm going to go into the caveats of the gotchas of doing this API call, because I learned something new about a month and a half ago that I just didn't know. Oh yeah, supported curl options. Okay. Right here under data, I didn't understand this at all in front of a variable. Never even seen it before. So, but if you go to node 4, when you're constructing your JSON to send over, you need to put the @ symbol in front of the variable so that it will read it correctly. And let's look at that here. Where's my insert? Here it is. There it is, right here. So even though I constructed a JSON that's correct, you have to put this @ symbol in front of it in your insert from URL, or it'll ignore it, throw an error, it won't accept your request. That's probably the single most important time-saving thing I could tell you. All right.
Brian,
Yes.
was that in the API docs or did you discover that by
Good
accident?
question. I discovered it, as you saw, from looking at insert from URL.
Oh,
But
okay.
it gave that link, and I bet you it is in there, because, you know, it sent me to another page about the curl options, because it doesn't, the FileMaker curl options are not the entire suite of curl options.
Right.
And that led me, when I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't even, that was totally new information to me, that @ symbol. I didn't know that was a thing, because up until now, I didn't need that. But when you do API call, you need it. You have to have it. It won't work. All right. Just looking at my notes. Okay. You know, this is not an API class. I'm just trying to give you the ability to put us kind of in the driver's seat for doing things. Oh, it'll write script steps too. So you don't need to do it from this app kind of thing, but I'll show you. Let's see, write a FileMaker script to open, I'm doing this on the fly. Go to a layout named main. Enter bind mode. And this is a simple one, but let's just leave it at that. But see, if I tell it this, when I ask it, I've tested this a few times, it should come back with a script. And I know that was simple, but it'll do it. And I don't expect it to evaluate, of course. And I wished, am I the only one that wishes that we could write these out and paste them into FileMaker this way? That may be a real indulgence. I don't know. But we don't have that ability. But I could read this and type it all in. So it will do that. But if I leave this off, and this isn't so bad for the new people, because it'll come back and it'll tell me, it'll do the script, but it'll give me sometimes a lot of verbiage that goes with it. Yeah, yeah. And this is okay though, right? This is the very traditional response. Not bad though. All right, still looking at my notes to make sure. You can ask AI to give me, and I'm just going to go through as many things I can. Give me the schema for a PO system. Well, it should do that, right? This should be enough. Leave that off. Let's ask it. So if you're at a loss for what to do with something, this works. So really the biggest things that I can show you is you can do things for yourself, get good results. You don't have any delays. Oh, something went wrong. PO system. Oh, no, that's okay. I have everything. Not sure.
Seems to me like that question is just like a little too non-specific.
Skinny, too skinny. Yeah, probably.
Say for a FileMaker solution, or I mean, because schema could be a variety of things too, right?
Well, what I'm expecting is just the basics for like a PO system,
Right, but does it know what you mean by schema?
Oh, it does.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, there
indeed
you go.
it does.
Okay.
Yeah, indeed
good.
it does. Yeah, and I mean, this is pretty darn good.
That's
it gives
awesome.
I know this saves you from thinking a little bit too. So,
Oh, anything to save me from thinking is great.
hey,
That's the hard part, is thinking.
Jonathan, you say that. I need to think about the bigger things, and I need this to do these mundane things, is the way I look at it. Seriously.
Can you get it to think about the bigger things too?
I can. Let's see. Anything. I'm just looking at my notes. Okay. No, I think that's kind of it. So
see, they specify database schema, which is probably what I would have leaned toward in the question.
Oh, yes. Just
to be like a little bit more specific about what kind of schema I was talking about.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, you're correct. I'm not sure I've ever written anything that skinny. So, but still, I mean,
It assumed you meant database because that's a common usage.
Well, I mean,
that's pretty good.
I had a few keywords in there for it. Granted, I mean, it did not bad at all. So let me look here to see if there anything else. I didn't get into Anthropic and Hugging Chat. I know we've all been there. I have a confession. When I wrote this, there's script steps. Yeah. Okay. You notice I have a tab here for Anthropic. I said to myself, by George, if I got through the OpenAI API call, I can do the Anthropic. I can get it to work in Insomnia, but I cannot get it to work in FileMaker. I've even been back and forth with their tech support person, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but it fails 100% of the time. So, Insomnia is an app or a website that will give you the structure for an API call so that you can then reverse engineer that and put it in FileMaker. I get it to work 100% there, but I can't get it to work here. So if anybody ever overcomes Anthropic, let me know.
Have you tried it in Postman?
Yes, Postman and Insomnia are competitors or similar products. So I can get it to work there 100%, but I can't get it to work over here. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So that's okay. And the reason I mentioned that and Hugging Face, okay, Anthropic, the way they charge, I was totally taken with Anthropic because they'll only charge you if you're, and I'm paraphrasing, if you're a big business. But if you're a single user, you can call all day long to their API and they're happy. So I said, I'll just save money and use them, not knowing how little the GPT-4 cost at the time. So I was trying to get this to work, but I've actually found that OpenAI AI does have better answers than Anthropic, I'm sad to say, because I'm always for the underdog. But yeah, and Hugging Face too. I just didn't have time for you guys today to develop the Hugging Face API. The Hugging Face enthralled me for one reason I must tell you about. We've all heard of Meta AI, correct? Meta has supposedly the biggest, baddest AI out there. Well, I said, how do I get it? I went to all their, I couldn't get it to work. They said, oh, you need Messenger, you need this, you know. I couldn't get it to say, I couldn't even find it to tell it what to do. So by chance, Hugging Face has the Meta AI as one of the 4 base AIs that you can use as a back end. So that may enthrall you as well. All right, well, I think I'm done. Thank you all very much.
So Hugging Face is like a middleware?
No, it's an OpenAI Anthropic. I can bring it up.
So, but you said that it has various AIs that it can work with?
It does. Watch this.
Okay.
Right here, watch. Look at all these models that you get to choose from. It's just stunning. This is Meta's. And when you go to their website, they're going to tell you all about Meta AI. This is stunning. But I ran out of time for our talk today to explore all these. So, and I didn't know it had so many. Oh, and you can do those system prompts to make it terse and so on. Has it right here as well. Some of them, not all of them. So you see, they all basically are the same. You know what I mean? But this one really does give you some choices that you can play with. Oh, and it too, well, I can't confirm this, but I think they let you do, for developers, API calls. So for yourself, it would be, okay, I'm not 100% sure that. I didn't get that far. So there you are. All right, I'll stop sharing. If I can
Well,
do
maybe
that.
don't stop yet. I was wondering
Oh.
if maybe we could do some more examples and
Oh, sure.
yeah. I'm curious about, what happens as it gets more complex and like with while functions and things like that. I mean,
Oh, and me too. Look, I got to tell y'all, I just got this going Saturday. Okay. So I'm excited as you are because I want to do this too. So I do not know how far it will go. Yeah. Boy, your brain is just like mine. I want to get a while statement. Then I realized, oh gosh, if I ask it to do a while statement, that usually in my mind involves doing some data that's already existing. It's not like give me a date range or something.
right.
So I was all disenchanted at that moment. I said, oh, I've got to have context, and maybe that's not what I need to do at this moment. And frankly, I was just trying to get prepared for you guys. So I just did this stuff, and this still helps me. So Ron, you're right. I wanted to get it to do the while statements. I'm going to do that on my own as I go on, but I literally got this going Saturday evening. So yeah, I don't know. I think it will work. Let's ask it this just for fun. Give me an example of a FileMaker while function. This should be good. Oh, no, I don't want to be terse. I want it to give us an answer. It's got to come up with some kind of example, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, something.
Yeah, it should.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Okay. Not bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a while
I know.
situation that we could write out,
I
but
know.
that's definitely got to be kind of part of the
Yes,
challenge too, is figuring out how to
yeah, it's got to go
word
get your feel.
word.
Yeah, I know. And I'm going to do that. That literally is my next step. You're reading my mind.
You're
So
right. It's very context specific.
yeah. I agree. All right. So, but I'm still intrigued and I wanted to do it. So I'm with you on that. If somebody comes up with something to paste it in chat, I'll paste it in here or whatever we want to ask.
You probably need to give it some field names and
Yeah. And you can
some
do
stuff like
that.
that.
You are right. You can do that and it will pay attention to you and it will try to apply them. So I'm okay with that. Yeah. In fact, that is, I know I'm going to do that next. So that's good.
I'm thinking of something like, do a while function that loops through a date range and give me every Tuesday or something like that. I mean, I don't know.
Let's see. If I can type. Through this year and pulls all the Tuesdays out. Is that a legitimate
Yeah, let's see if
request?
that works.
Oh, no, we'll let it explain, I guess. Wait, that would evaluate, right? It would if it does it correctly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going hardcore here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Pull all the Tuesdays out. What does that even mean?
I don't
Calendar
know.
with 6 days to the week.
Yeah. That might give you that might give you every other date other than Tuesdays.
That's true. Oh,
Interesting.
hang on. So see, it didn't.
It thought you said to find all the Tuesdays, so that's right.
That's what he wanted.
Yeah, it's giving you Tuesday.
Yeah, hang on. Let's see if we can let this evaluate. If I get rid of this, now it didn't honor the code, but if I click out of here, if that's a legitimate statement, it'll do it. It should evaluate. No, it doesn't.
It's within
So something's broken in it. Something's broken.
Why?
Well, it won't evaluate. Let's put it in the data viewer.
Yeah, I wonder what's
I don't know. I'm just
at first glance I couldn't find anything.
Yeah, see, I can't find anything either, but see, it doesn't evaluate.
But
Well,
if you
hit
hit
monitor
it
and see what
should tell you what's missing.
Oh, true.
Yeah, put it in there and
Did I get
see what
everything?
it shows as a.
See, it's just
No, it doesn't even
Oh, it
do that.
doesn't. Yeah.
it just
Okay.
doesn't. So, and I've had that happen. Although, watch this every
Well,
time.
what's it missing?
I don't know.
Yeah, because that looks like it should evaluate.
It does, but watch this. So we left it alone. We're gonna ask it again. We're gonna get all new code here. I noticed when I ask it for the stuff, I have never seen the same formula come back twice in a row, ever. And some of them are completely jacked, but they work. And then some are very, succinct. This one doesn't either, but it did. Wait a minute. It did honor and just do code. That's good. Start date, end date. All dates, list while. All Tuesdays. Did it define all Tuesdays?
Kirk has put some interesting stuff in the chat as well, so I just thought I'd let everybody know to just don't forget to glance over at the chat.
Let's see what the data viewer says about it. If anything, it probably field missing. Hang on. Oh, I thought it was supposed to tell us which feed.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just
why isn't
went.
it popping up a dialogue and telling you
I
what?
know. I don't know. Hang on. Get wider. Why will that not let me? Something here? See, I don't think all Tuesdays is defined.
That's
No.
if counter is 0.
Oh, all Tuesdays it's setting.
Yeah, it's initializing the variable.
Initialize. Okay, okay. Let's give it one more shot, and then I'll check the chat. Does somebody have stuff in there they want me to run? So we've still got our same question. We're waiting for the result. We're waiting for it to do it. And Anne's right. Even if I get a list of every Tuesday of the year, I'll call it a success.
Yeah.
That's what you were asking for.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's going to come back and say, "Are you serious?"
Well, they're only going to be 52 unless it's a leap year. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, well, wait a minute. There's hope because, see, it didn't honor our request, which
Oh.
sometimes it doesn't. I don't need that.
What's the ellipses after that? What was that there for?
Where? Here?
Oh, that's not an ellipses. That's a okay. Those are quotes. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Hang on. Oh, come here. Go away. All right. So if I click out, it should evaluate, and it doesn't. So let's copy, put it in the data viewer, see if we can figure out something. Now, this is what I was expecting. So what's
Yeah.
wrong there? I wonder why that other one didn't do that. That's not a recognized.
I think that's what we're running into is that
they're doing PHP or something.
Yeah, okay. So change that to the option. Yeah.
Oh, I see. What should I change it to? I'm not.
Option less than.
It works the way it is, though. That construct works in FileMaker.
That does?
Yes. But the data viewer is saying that it's not recognized.
Oh, no, the other one.
Oh.
Option less than. There you go.
More trouble. It doesn't like this for some reason here.
You know, with Monkey Bread there, you can execute right there on the calc dialog. You don't have to go back out to the data viewer to do this.
You know, you're right, and I do have that. So, but hang on, let's, here's what I'll do when I'm all alone. I'll have it run 5 times, and even if it takes 5 times 34 seconds, to me, that's worth it. I will get the sucker to run. So I'll do this and be super happy. I'm waiting for one moment when it's going to work, but I've never asked it anything to do with a while statement. All right.
Maybe we should go back to
I was
code
thinking
only.
this might be a good way to learn FileMaker, since I don't really use it the way everyone else uses it.
Oh, wait.
Maybe it would keep wondering what I was asking.
Yes. Yeah, here's our evaluate, right? Parameters invalid.
Valid get function parameter.
Get current date.
Right.
Times GPT makes stuff up.
Yes.
Well, why didn't it catch the first one? It caught the second get current date and it skipped the first one. Wow.
That's a FileMaker thing. I don't know. Let's try it one more time and then we'll move on. Are there things in the chat we can throw in here? Because I haven't looked.
Yeah, we should have invited everybody to come up with it.
Yeah. All right. So see, it's ignoring my instructions to not tell me things. Most of the time it works though.
Do you have that in there for the instructions?
I do.
Yeah, you do.
And I've noticed that it. Oh look!
Hey, it evaluated. Good
Guys,
Whoa!
How many times did you run it?
I don't know. 5, maybe 5.
Maybe 5.
That's totally worth it. Okay, we've been working on the same record, but oh my gosh, that is what? Look at all those! Oh my gosh, I'm thrilled. Yay! Let's check the chat.
Now, the
Wow,
big
that's-
problem is, like you said, you can't copy the code and then paste it in, which means you still got to
can.
make sure you're not making a mistake when you type it in.
You can
Well,
with the calculation, but not with the script.
Calculation you can. Yeah.
yeah, see, this will work. If it works in data viewer, it
Wow.
should work
Yeah.
everywhere.
Today lists of Tuesday, tomorrow it becomes self-aware.
Yeah, it's scripts that it's
Oh
scripts
my
that can't be
gosh.
copied and pasted, but calculations can.
Oh, now
That's
see,
not-
this is what I need OpenAI for. This will advance me and you and make us better, period. Because I don't
Wow.
want to waste time doing this. I want to think about what the client needs, what I need,
Yeah.
what you need. You
All you
know.
have to do is keep hitting the Ask AI button, and
Till it gets it right. Yeah.
Yeah. Go get
Like-
coffee and
Smack it over the over the knuckles with a ruler and say, "Do it again."
do it
Now,
again.
if you do it again, will it give you a different answer?
Oh, most definitely, Ann. It will. Yeah, it will. Did I keep that
Or
one?
calendar without Tuesdays.
well, if you think about it, every time you hit the question, it has to go and learn it all from scratch.
Yes, because
And
it's
create it.
iterative. Yeah, that's right.
So, you know,
Well,
That's why you get a different answer every
that's why.
time.
Yeah, because it depends on which resources it lands on.
I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know,
so
but isn't this
like-
fabulous? This to me is just a huge,
It's
huge
cool.
win.
As a large language model, there's going to be a lot of different opinions out there.
Yeah,
Right.
really.
Well, but it's generating them at this moment. I mean, the moment you ask, it starts putting token to token to token. I have no idea how I can do that. That's stunning to me.
Yeah.
Stunning.
I
But I'm
heard
okay
a
with it.
comedian. I heard a comedian the other day. It says, "How many science fiction movies do you have to see before you realize this is a bad idea?"
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. Yeah. This
And
is,
we've got the guy doing the demo with a Star Trek shirt on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was on purpose.
it was.
Computer.
Computer. Oh, I know. I would love that. I would love that.
Dude, in your Scotty voice, it picks up the mouse of the Macintosh and goes, "Computer."
Ah, that's too good. Oh
Yeah,
God.
this is the part of Terminator we didn't see is before Skynet became self-aware, all the people out there playing with it and being giddy and like just being so amazed with it.
and training it because it
Yeah.
probably learns a lot as it works. And wow.
Brian, thank you so much for sharing this example with us. I have a question I want to bring up to the group, and that is, if this stuff becomes available, for the low-code platform, what does it mean to low code? Because I've seen other examples of people like, well, what was it, Peter Wagemans talking about whistleblower last week on FM Disk. And he said, "Oh, I wrote it in Python." He says, "I don't code in Python. I just use ChatGPT to generate the code for me." So like, wait a minute. Like you're in a coding environment you don't code with, and you're getting ChatGPT to write your code for you. So like, I mean, to me, like low code is no code. It doesn't, non-existent code at this point, because if you can up a level to a platform where you don't even write code, and you can ask it to write code for you, then what does that mean?
Yeah.
It's that, I mean,
The only thing left will be analysts, and then eventually the AI will take over the analyst mode.
or chat prompters or whatever,
Yeah. Kind of apropos. It makes me think of a Star Trek episode where they come across a civilization that has forgotten how to do everything because the computers do it for them. It's
Yeah, exactly. You can't add in your head anymore because you've used a
Yeah.
calculator all this time, or you've asked
You
a
mean
computer to-
you mean high school students?
that's like
Yeah.
current education.
I was I
Common
was in
sense.
several years ago. I was in a internet cafe, and they charge 10 cents a minute for using their computers. And so I go up and I told her, okay, it's 34 minutes, and she pulls out a calculator.
To
I'm like,
multiply 10 cents a minute.
yeah.
You go,
It-
you go to a fast food place or something, and the power is out there, and they can't figure out which you want. I looked at the prices on the menu, and told her exactly what it was, and then she turned around. The manager said, "Sell it to her and take her money, or just give it to her. Give any of the stuff away because it's all going to spoil."
I used to do a thing that was just kind of a game for myself. Like if I stopped at a gas station and I bought a soda or a pack of cigarettes or whatever, and then, I give them a $20 bill, or they ring it up and I give them 20. I say, okay, and I'll calculate the change and I'll say, put $10.12 on gas or whatever the change is. And they put that in and it would come up to exactly 20. And it used to baffle me how many like cashiers at gas stations were amazed that I could do that. I'm like, it's pretty simple math. And, and they're like,
Well, you get something that costs $5.64 and you give them $11, and
yeah,
they go, and they have no idea what to do with that.
yeah.
Oh, the other thing is when they're partway through ringing it up, you say, "Oh, wait a minute, I think I got the change," and then they're lost.
Yeah.
So another question, Brian, if I may. The interesting thing for me is, okay, obviously, like if you can get ChatGPT to help you write code, I'm interested in feeding our clients' data into a language model that we've trained, or somehow, like, I'm interested in getting access to models where I can feed it the data that is for that domain, and then turning the client loose on something where they're not feeding their data into the main cloud, but they're feeding their data into a language model that you custom design for them. And so now you're talking about us as consultants going out, being able to say, oh yeah, we can do that. We can add a model to your financial data, so you can ask it questions like, how is my year over quarter, last quarter on this product, right? You can just ask it questions.
They actually have some of these specific to specific domains like finance out there already, just custom LLMs.
Right. And that don't load data into the cloud. They're loading it into your
they do it
local.
on-prem.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, that's earth-shattering for me once we can deliver this kind of functionality to our clients where they don't even know what they're asking, or they don't even know what they want, but they can ask insights or ask it things like, can you see a trend in this data? And it can reveal things that you never even knew existed or knew how to look for them. So very, very cool.
Well, isn't that a question in every industry? Like how can we use this, or how will it change our? I was talking with my daughter, who's an incredible artist, and she was saying it's taking her so long to do these things, and she takes commissions for specific kinds of artwork online, and I said, well, why don't you get AI to do it for you? There's all kinds of tools to draw things, and you just tell it what you want, and there's skill in that, but tell it what you want. She goes, oh no, that's strictly forbidden. Nobody's allowed to use AI to draw their stuff. And I'm like, okay, just wait a couple of weeks and everybody will be doing it.
Look at my clock. Wait a few hours.
Yeah. Really?
I've got a client that does used auto parts. He's trying to write sales descriptions for eBay using ChatGPT. And it was more like you pull an engine with 150,000 miles on it and write the sales description. It sounds like you put in your car and you'd have an Indy race car. It was very flowery in his description. So it says, no.
Yeah. Yep. Brian, are you going to share that file, or is that just for you? You can remove the tokens and stuff like that, but just curious.
I was, in fact, prepared for that question and was only going to do this if someone asked. So it's on GitHub, and I'll put it in the everyone chat. And you're welcome to get it. And in fact, what I found is the API calls are so cheap that I'll leave that API code that's in there now working for today at least, so you can play with it, or go get your own API code. You just give them a billing point and they're happy. So yeah. So there it is. And then
Everybody, Heidi put some stuff in the chat that you might want to make note of before before we close out.
Oh,
That's very
Yeah,
cool.
so it's
Thanks, Heidi.
basically, hang on 1 second. It's basically a one you can run on your own laptop, so not in the cloud, not open API. And I've run it using some documents. I wanted to see how it would, parse the documents and give correct answers. And I didn't have enough collateral on what I wanted it to understand, and I haven't gotten back to it. But it's an interesting thing to try out, Vince, if you're looking at feeding your own data, and it doesn't take much to do. You have to download a model, install on your laptop, download a model, make a directory for your, documents, which could be Excel files, PDFs, whatever. And you can just see what it does if you haven't tried that.
So it's like an on-prem AI.
Yep. It's local. But it doesn't take too long to try out, just to see what the capabilities are.
Yeah, Mac GPT does that too. That's just above that, I think.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Oh
very
yeah,
cool.
Kirk put that in there. Mac GPT. You said that's a local one as well.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yep, that's low.
But that one's okay.
oh yeah, I didn't see
What-
that one. Okay, thanks. Huh. I haven't heard of either of these.
It's growing like crazy. It's growing like mushrooms, I tell you. Like I watched the stream of the Rome conference 2 weeks ago, I think it was now, and Nicolas from Spain. I think he was the one who's was I think maybe that's what that's what he was referring to, Heidi, is they use a language model that is all local for financial solutions, that they have finance related clients, and they've been building some things with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
he's,
you said, things are popping up every day, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I haven't looked at this in a couple months. There could be something way better than GPT for all. There could be like 20 finance LLMs out there. I don't know.
Well, I've got
Yeah.
a neighbor that's in the IT support business. He's in a big company. He said they've laid off 20% of the people because they've replaced it with ChatGPT.
Wow.
What kind of company?
IT support.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
Well, a lot of them
scary
just
thought.
Google the answers anyway.
Yeah.
That's why they have you turn your computer off and turn it back on, so they have time enough to Google the answer to your question.
Well, you guys were talking about going to a fast food restaurant, and I think some of them are starting to roll out AI. Aren't they, to take the orders and etc.? Isn't that happening?
I don't know.
Oh, I mean, there's just so much happening, not just ChatGPT related, but I mean, you walk into a restaurant 10 years ago, what did you have to do? You have to get in line, get a seat, wait for a menu, order, wait for your food, wait, when your food is done, ask for the check, you're waiting for the check, and then you finally pay, and then you wait for the credit card to come back. There's all this waiting. Now you walk into a restaurant, you scan the QR code, you order your food, the food gets delivered. You still have to wait for your food, but once you ordered your food, you can literally get up and walk out. You've actually paid for it already because it's tied to your account. It's all kind of, they just, with COVID, it was a blessing and a curse because all of a sudden people had to rethink things in a number of different industries, and they were forced to, figure out ways that, new and different ways. And I find it fascinating to no end to how different industries are have undergone digital transformations. And-
Back to the other topic of you said the term low code, Vince. Chris was saying that he's seen in some of the industry chatter the term visual scripting instead of low code now. And, I guess in some ways you could say that's also visual scripting, right? Because you're finding the visual,
Start over
you're
again.
copying it, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like I live in two worlds. Like I live in a visualization world because I've been loving to work with D3 and Tableau for many years. But I mean, what's kind of what do you call it when there's a convergence of sorts?
Mhm.
So like with Apple coming out with spatial computing and AI, imagine like, okay, we're just at the beginning of this and we're seeing the potential. And it's like, oh, can you write me some code that does this, right? Now imagine like a whole other environment for coders. Like they have spatial computing where the functions are not just a blob of text, right? Now you've got like an entity where you're looking at a function, but that links to other functions. And as you in this three-dimensional world, you're kind of like immersed in this reality where you're clicking on a function and that function opens up to another, realm of like, okay, this is what this function does, and you're asking, this AI assistant to help you debug it or whatever. I mean, it's like it's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, multi-purposes languages like Python are in some ways low code because there's so many libraries, right? And so then you're just dragging around, do I want to use this library? I want to, what you said.
Well, think about the last 50 years maybe 100 years, where we went from only certain people knew how to type to everybody types to, computers. I was in the printing industry when desktop publishing came out, and so many people lost their jobs. It was a earthquake of, earthquake proportions effect on the printing industry, where they went from, the customer from all the different manual processes that took to create a printed document, and then it went to somebody walks in with a disk, you stick that in the computer and send it out the printer. You got presses that make their own plates, and now you can send it to them electronically and get it back in the mail in a few days. It's nuts. That kind of technological, another technological revolution, and now we're on the cusp of yet another one. This is gonna further blow all kinds of industries out of the water.
Well, we spent years with HTML before WYSIWYG desktop publishing came about, and now we got Markdown. My God, we're going backwards.
Yeah.
I just I hadn't played too much with Chat GPT, and so while the discussion was going on, I pulled it up and did something real quick. I want to share it because it blows me away. So let me jump on here and share my screen so I pulled up Chat GPT, and I put in, because one of the things that I struggle with is like on my website, trying to write copy for my website. So I basically put in, write a business description for a FileMaker developing consulting business named RGC Data. And I just was absolutely blown away. Like, I was expecting
Really complimentary too.
I was expecting a short paragraph. I was expecting a short paragraph on, and this is what
That's nuts. Look at that.
And not only that, but I've run it a couple of times, and each time the wording is a little bit different. So
Yeah.
it's crazy how it just, man, like
All roads
did
lead
not
to Rome.
know.
Yeah.
Uh,
All roads lead to Rome.
yeah.
And that's an example of like, like I used to get hung up on this idea that the model had to be perfect. And then over the last few years, I realized like that's like, that's not the most critical thing. Like, so you might not have the architecture or the model right, but somehow the work gets done. People get used to it. It's just like, you walk this way and that way to get to a certain place. But in a sense, like you could have walked shorter distance had you known, but you still got to that place, right? So like your description that you're just describing, like you wrote your copy, right?
Mhm.
Now you ask ChatGPT to write the copy for you, and it comes up with different versions of it, and it's much more elaborate and much more well thought out and well spoken and all this. It's just like constructing your phrases. Sometimes you can use very eloquent wording, or you can just use, "Hey guys, I'm just like a coder, whatever." Like
Yeah.
it's the language is fascinating because it's fascinating how it can navigate the language to articulate things in a more eloquent way, and it fascinates us totally.
And
Does that mean
it's kind
that
of
all
funny.
websites are going to be exactly alike in the future because they're all written by AI?
Yeah.
And
Well,
you
but
really can't trust
consistency
them
is
because
not.
they're written
Yeah.
by some computer somewhere, so they don't really apply to the person
Right.
behind the website. So is that going to make websites useless?
That's the kind of what I was thinking is in a way it feels dishonest because I mean I agonized over, for hours trying to figure out what to put on my website and it comes from me. AI can do it in a couple of seconds and it's doesn't come from me. So it's not a reflection of what I can do. It's a reflection of what AI can do. So yeah, it almost feels dishonest to be to be frank. It just that
Well,
being
that's what
said, if you look at my website next week, you'll probably see this on there.
you can get away with that for the next few months anyway.
Yeah, but go back to the example of the while function that Brian was kept trying to run, right? Maybe like we didn't debug it closely, but I've seen situations where it came up with parameters or results for a get function that were inaccurate.
Mm,
So it's like a great
Now,
bullshitter.
now that you mention that, though, here's what I've done to kind of mitigate that. I'll get a function to work, and then I'll ask it follow-up questions. I'll say, for the following FileMaker calculation, and I'll say, does it account for leap year? And I know that's a simplistic thing to ask for. And then I'll put a colon, hit a return, and paste in the code. And it will answer me yes or no. And so I've been able to do that for a few things that I'm looking for after I get it to work and after I review it and say, this is kind of right.
Yeah.
That's a good point, though.
Yeah.
I keep running this thing and I'm still blown away by how different each opening paragraph, each introduction is different. And it's like, it's so amazing that it can just, like it doesn't repeat what it's doing. And it's much like us, like a human being. If you ask us to do a task, we're going to do it in a certain order, in a certain way. And then if we do it again, it may vary slightly each time we do it. So it's just, man.
Well,
Well, I
it's
mean,
kind of like
dishwasher.
they call it a stochastic parrot, right? So it's the reason it's doing different each time is it's just doing a probably, it's picking the next word, and so it can do it differently. And if it starts one part differently, then it might do the next part differently. So it has all these different permutations. But I had to run an errand at lunch, and I was just listening, and some old book I was listening to came on, and it was about memory, and it was talking about somebody who it was in some political hearing, maybe the Watergate hearing, and he was like a human recorder, and they didn't realize there were tapes. I can't remember the specific thing, but anyways, this guy could pretty closely remember the whole conversation. But if you listen to the recordings, he didn't have it exactly right, but he had the gist of it right. And I think that's what ChatGPT, we're amazed at, that it gets the gist of things right. It doesn't get everything right, but it gets the gist of things, and then it gets things wrong too. And the truth of the matter is, it gets things wrong just like people get things wrong a lot of times.
I agree with that. That's what I found. Oh, like I did the little history for monkey bread, and no, Claris. And I asked it a couple of times while I was testing before this meeting. The first time it gave the history with Neshoba, whatever that company that first did FileMaker. Neshoba. It got that right, including the year. But then on the 2 subsequent requests, it got it completely wrong, Heidi. You're exactly right about that. It's like it misremembers or something. That was fascinating to me. That number one, it got it right the first time, but the 2 subsequent times, it got it wrong or left it off.
But see, how you say that word, anthro? We're treating it like it's a human, and it's not. It's a calculation. We're saying it doesn't remember, or saying, it's just doing probabilities of what, based on the data it has.
Yeah. I want to know that word.
Anthropomorphic.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Anthropomorphic. I was trying to say anthropomorphic.
Anthropomorphic.
Guising, though.
We used to joke with our little girl, who's just really brilliant. And we practiced saying that word and taught her that word, and she actually started using it correctly, and it was really funny.
So I was trying to say we're anthropomorphizing ChatGPT. That's the right way to say it,
there
right?
you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think back of the graphic designers, you would not ever see a graphic designer that didn't have tons of art books on their shelves. And you would see that, and they would open them up, look for inspiration. That's kind of what ChatGPT does. It looks through all the stuff for inspiration and figures out how best to solve this problem based on all this stuff. And it's exactly like humans work.
Oh, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That reminds me, remember my opening question, which one is best for me? Okay. If you didn't already figure out, it's OpenAI. It gives the best answers for calculations that I've found, and I've tested thoroughly the others. Okay. The others are practically abysmal at FileMaker. They're just unworkable, actually. And then the others have limits. Well, even OpenAI has this on how much text you can give it, and but OpenAI is the nice balance, and it gives me those functions. That's where I've decided to put my hat, is to have it tell me functions and not go into script steps and not go into logic so much. I just need these functions to help me move things along. That's where I've started.
Well, see, the other ones don't have FileMaker documentation as part of their library. It's wherever they get their library. And this is one of the big things about AI, is what you train it with is what it will give you the answers back. So anything that's controversial, you may or may not get the correct answer. And obviously dealing with tech, there's little controversy, but still, not a lot of tech people like FileMaker, so maybe it's not considered as worthy of including in the library, and that's why you'll get some of these that don't work. What, Heidi?
But I think they did train on Stack Overflow, which is not always right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
No, and I'm not talking about FileMaker. I'm talking about
in general. Yeah, because I think they're being sued for that or something. Oh, did I say that?
Yours, Arts, did you see that talk, Vince, at .fmp, and then he did it on FM Disk? He showed an example where, I can't remember what function it was,
Yours?
Yours, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what function it was, but it had 5 options, and ChatGPT came
Yeah, yeah.
back and
Let's
said,
get window type or something
yeah, it
like
was,
that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it had some of it right and some of it wrong. So it
Yep.
obviously it knew about the documentation, but somehow it didn't.
It made up one of the choices, but it looks so real.
Yeah.
Like, this is browse mode, this is find mode, and this is like, I don't remember what it was, but it was like, like, oh, that looks like, wait a minute. And like, if you're real expert, you'd say, that doesn't, like, like how someone can read a paragraph and spot a misspelled word, like immediately. Like, how do you
Yeah.
do that? Right? Like, what's your skill? And so some people will just say, wow, I don't know, that doesn't look right to me, you know? So, but yeah, you have to watch
Yeah.
out for it.
Yeah. And so maybe that particular function was on Stack Over. Somehow it had seen it because it was partly right.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but then again, it goes back to your comment, Heidi. It's a computer. It's an algorithm. It's
Yeah.
it's predicting the next thing. So who knows how that like string kind of lined up in its path of probabilities, and it picked
Yeah.
it up, and it didn't make any kind of correlation like we make a correlation that says, well, that's not part of that function. It doesn't have that as an answer. But to it was just a probability node on getting the results and feeding the results back. So it's
But I'm wondering
amazing.
if I took GPT for all and put a document that had the function, a PDF of the function doc, would it get it right? It might get it right. If that's, if I just was training it on a couple pages, I bet you it would get it right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
So
where
less
it has.
data can sometimes be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where it's really interesting in tech, because tech is an exacting kind of thing, whereas all the other stuff is left to interpretation or points of view, or it can be, biased in some way. So like if you have a lot of, you have a lot of controversy in an area, and it goes out and finds its probability nodes in that area, you might get a very biased result, or you will get a very biased result.
You might
And
get a very wrong result. I mean, I'm a hardware engineer by training, and I fed ChatGPT some complex network security things, and the stuff it came back with is no way on hell am I ever going to do that. This is way off base. And then I'll run it again. It comes back with a perfect response. Says, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, that was like some of the original, they weren't LLMs, they were, it's called word to vec and stuff. They had the word embeddings is how it worked then. And it was like, man is a doctor, as woman is a nurse. Like they would, they definitely had a lot of bias, a lot more bias built in.
Well, I have a friend that has been using ChatGPT to do stock trades, and they've been beating the market by 30-40% consistently.
Really?
For what? With
stock trades.
But what, using ChatGPT?
Yeah, they feed the data in on the decisions on the stock, and ChatGPT comes back with a recommendation, and they've been playing it, and they've been outperforming by 30 or 40% what they were doing before.
That pays for ChatGPT.
Kirk, put that link in the
But isn't that what Wall Street's doing already? They've got all kinds of quants who are programming all that stuff already.
Yeah, that's why a lot of weird moves happen. Just the algorithm does it.
Yeah, the person to talk to about that would be Tony White. He spent 7 years in that world.
Oh, I didn't know that about him.
He's brilliant. Like all the FileMaker developers I know.
funny.
But can he say anthropomorphic?
Look, I'm looking at it right now.